blocked, and that score was all knotted up 13-13. Picture of Captain John Nacera. Moves for 6 around left end. Watch Johnny go. And then with 9 seconds remaining in the game, all knotted at 13-13, Treadway holds, and Prescott attempts a field goal, and the ball moves off to the right, no good. And the ball game ends up a thrilling 13-13 tie with the Falcons of the Air Force Academy from Colorado Springs. Well, the Hawkeyes were a bit disappointed with their tie with the Air Force. We're out to prove today that they were a point as good but Prescott, and the Hawkeye leads 7-0. 30, Don Horn goes over left guard for the TD. The point is good, and Iowa leads 14-0. Don Horn, that great fullback, but to nothing at this stage of the ball game. Still in the second quarter, Indiana with the ball. Mackin is back to pass, throws, and it's intercepted by Willie Fleming. And Willie returns up to midfield and pass. And then with a 2nd and 1, Indiana 20 in the third quarter. And Indiana picked up 2 quickies, the final 34-13 for Iowa. And now we're up at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. A record crowd to see the Iowa-Wisconsin game, generally recognized as one of the key games in the Big Ten Conference this season. The Wisconsin Badgers and the University of Iowa Hawkeyes. As you note throughout our highlight film, the Hawkeyes on the road will be in white, and at home they will have their dark jerseys. All ready to go and really poised now, hits Langston for 11 yards, and the ball is moved down to the 16-yard line. That is Jeff Langston from Iowa City. Still nearing that goal line, Duncan once again calls the pass third quarter. Hackbart, the quarterback, pitches to Hart. He fumbles, that's charged to Hackbart, recovered by Furlong. And then plays later, Duncan dives into the end zone for the Iowa's first score. With 11:15 remaining in the third quarter, it was a 31-yard march. It's now Wisconsin 9, Iowa 6. Still in the third quarter, Hackbart's pass attempt was fumbled, recovered in the air by Jeff Langston, who runs for the TD. With 4:15 remaining, that was a 20-yard touchdown run. Norton tackled Hackbart on that pass attempt. A shot of red-haired, and Iowa led 20-9. Then later in the quarter, Jeter, behind some fine blocking, moves to the right, cuts off tackle, reverses his field, and moves down the field for about a 25-yard gain, and the ball was then out of trouble on the Badger 31-yard line. With an exchange, after the Hawkeyes failed to get their first down, Williams is back to pass, Sid Williams, number 22. He is tackled by Sawn, fumbles, recovered by Kirk Mers on the Wisconsin 14, and that was a 17-yard loss by the Wisconsin Badgers. And now it's Iowa's ball in the Wisconsin 14. Iowa took timeout. There were 8 seconds remaining. Ogigo slips one over to Bobby Jeter in the flat, and he rambles for 11 yards down to the 3, but the ball game ends, and Iowa wins 20-9 in a terrific football game at Camp Randall Stadium in Wisconsin. Iowa 20 and Wisconsin 9. Well, it was homecoming back in Iowa City, and the opponents for the day, the undefeated Wildcats of Northwestern. A tremendous football game, a lot of speed, moved into Iowa Stadium to knock off the undefeated Iowa Hawkeyes. Let's get into the game. Duncan passes after a little bit of maneuvering in the backfield, complete to Mers, a sensational catch for about 14 yards. It's first and goal on the Northwestern 8-yard line as we resume play. The next call from Duncan is Horn. Horn over right guard is driving for 5, but Iowa's penalized 15 yards for holding. So let's go out to the Northwestern 18, where it's second and goal. Duncan maneuvering, fires the ball, and a sensational catch by Kurt Mers for the TD. The point was good, and the Hawkeyes led 7-0 with Kurt Mers shown on our screen. Evie and his assistants, plus the press box phone crew, keep things humming, and Duncan passes in a little bit later in the game, complete to Norton for a touchdown against the Wildcats. Things looked pretty good as the point was good, and Iowa led 14-0. And now with a 4th and 17 deep in Iowa territory, Don Norton gets off a tremendous punt, and watch this action. It's Northwestern's ball momentarily. No, it isn't. It's Iowa's ball. Now it's Northwestern, and finally recovered in there by the Wildcats on their own 5-yard line. Tremendous punt. Ara Parsegian, the coach of the Wildcats, on the sidelines hustling his substitutes into the ball game. In the third quarter, we rejoin play, and Horn is the choice of a right guard, and he rambles for 7 big ones. With a 3rd and 9 on the Northwestern 22, the point was no good. The Hawkeyes led at this stage 20-0. And now the Wildcats picked up 2 quick TDs, and the Hawks are now leading 20-12. Horn picks up 4 over left guard, and then the same player, rambling Don Horn, scoots into the end zone for the TD. The Duncan pass was incomplete to Prescott. Iowa leading 26-20. Thornton passes. The ball is intercepted in there by Ray Yock on the far side of the field, and the final Northwestern threat is over as Yock gets that ball. The Hawkeyes contain it, and the final play of the game found Don Horn trying to circle right in for the touchdown, and he was inches short. Final score in the Northwestern-Iowa game, Iowa 26 and Northwestern 20 in a tremendous homecoming football game in Iowa City. Well, let's go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where our Hawkeyes had gone since 1924 without a win. 68,000 fans were in attendance as the game began, as the white-shirted Hawkeyes take the field in the Mammoth Stadium at Michigan, and a game they wanted Willie Fleming of Detroit, Michigan. Prescott converted. Iowa led 7-0. Then in the second quarter, with a 1st and 10, Ray Yock cuts over left tackle, reverses his field, and then as Bobby Prescott leads him down the field, Ray Yock jaunts 74 yards into pay dirt, and the second Iowa touchdown, Ray Yock of Mendota, Illinois. The convert, Noskin, is the boy who has the trouble here, fumbles. It's recovered in there by Langston after that tremendous tackle by Norton, and the ball is a loss of 12 yards and on the 3-yard line. And Randy Duncan calls on Bobby Jeter, and he skirts right in for the TD. The conversion kick was good, and Iowa moved out in front at this stage, 21-14. The pass intended for Prost was intercepted on this play by Jeter, who lateraled it over to Yock, and Yock returns it about 40 yards deep into Michigan territory, down to the Wolverine 35-yard line. We're in the fourth quarter now as we've changed sides. Randy is back in the flat, fires to Billy Fleming, far on the sideline, a brilliant pivot, and he clears himself for about a 37-yard gain late in the ball game. With a 3rd and 9 on the Michigan 40, Duncan is back again to pass, fires to Mers, and that is completed for 13 yards. It's 2nd and 7 on the Michigan 24. The score then was 27-14. Iowa was penalized 5 for delay of game. And then Nacera on a pitch out fires into the end zone for a 2-pointer to Kurt Mers, and the score moves 61 yards. And with a score at 35-14, Duncan fires down into the end zone to Mers, and it's an extra 2 points, and Iowa leads 37-14. Here is Tochik late in the ball game for the Michigan Wolverines, chased by Bobby Hain and knocked down. That was a loss of 9 yards. With 3rd and 25 of the Michigan 27, here is Tochik back to pass once again. He is chased in there by John Burroughs, who grabs him, and then Norton puts the clincher, and the final score up at Michigan. The first win for the Hawkeyes in many, many years, and Coach Evie gets a ride into the dressing room. Final score, Michigan 14, the Iowa Hawks 37. Well, the next stop for the undefeated Hawkeyes was Memorial Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota, November 8th. It was a chilly day as the Hawks took the field, still trying to keep their season undefeated. A sellout crowd, 43. Kevin Furlong picks 12 up over right tackle with a fine bit of work. The 1st and 10 on the Michigan 26-yard line, or Minnesota 26-yard line, in possession of Minnesota. Salem fumbles on a pitch out. Mers recovers for Iowa on the Minnesota 23. 3rd and 5 on the Iowa 41 at this stage. Ogigo hits Norton, and Norton is good for 13 yards. The 1st and 10 on the Minnesota 46-yard. In the second quarter, 1st and 10 on the Iowa 37. Salem's pass, who is back to pass now, is intercepted by Chuck Lee, a tackle at the line of scrimmage. And the first play after the interception, Willie Fleming once again gets the call. And watch Fleming from Detroit, Michigan maneuver on this play, moving off tackle. He's up at midfield to the 40, and then completely outruns the Gopher secondary for a 63-yard touchdown run. Minnesota then trailed 12-0. We're still in the second quarter. And now trying for the extra point, Nacera fumbles the ball, fires it down, and it's complete with a brilliant catch by Prescott in the end zone, and Iowa leads 14-0. Back at the ball game, Duncan, a little bit later, hit Jeff Langston at the 1. He fell into the end zone for a quick third touchdown, and Iowa led after the successful conversion 21-0. In the fourth quarter, Duncan hits Kurt Mers with a sensational circus catch on the Minnesota 30. He went to the 23 for a 24-yard gain. 28-6 Iowa lead, showing Don Norton from Anamosa, Iowa. Late in the ball game, in the middle of the field, Iowa led and won in that ball game, a tremendous football game. Iowa 28 and Minnesota 6. The two powers of the Big Ten Conference got together in Iowa City November 15th as the Buckeyes of Ohio and the Hawkeyes of Iowa get together. It looked like Randy Duncan dives into the end zone for the TD. The point by Prescott was good, and the Hawks tied it up 7-7. Clark had hit a quick touchdown early in the ball game. And now trailing 14-7, Duncan passes to Norton, and he laterals to Mers. The play covers about 7 yards. Once again, the Hawks go to the air lanes. Duncan passes, this time complete to Jeff Langston, and that's good for 21 yards. The end of the first quarter, let's get into the second quarter and see what happens. 1st and 10 on the 7-yard line in Iowa territory. Willie Fleming gets to the 10, to the 20, and streaks up the sidelines on the far side for a 28-yard gain to get the Hawks out of trouble early in the second quarter. And now we're deep in Buckeye territory when Willie gets a call around left end, almost makes it into the end zone, and is knocked out of bounds after a 6-yard gain. The play was good, and it was all knotted up once again, 14-14. Well, here's Duncan, back to pass. He hits Fleming. Fleming starts up the right side, decides to reverse his field, and then goes completely to the far side on the east side of the Iowa Stadium and rambles for 57 yards on that perfectly executed screen pass by the Hawkeyes. And then ended up at 21-21. Now Duncan fires to Furlong late in the ball game for 17 more yards. And now here is Johnny Nacera, a picture there of Kevin Furlong. Here's a picture of a dejected Woody Hayes at that stage, wondering whether his Bucks could hold. And a touchdown by Johnny Nacera, and we're into the fourth quarter of play, and White finally scored that winning touchdown. A field goal made it 38-28, the first loss of the season for our Hawkeyes. Now, before a national audience, the University of Iowa meets their final opponent in Iowa City. Another sellout crowd as usual. A beautiful afternoon here, November 22nd in Iowa City. And the Fighting Irish with a fine record are in Iowa City, so let's join play. Duncan passes a beauty complete to Langston for 22. That was on the Iowa 46-yard line. Mitch Ogigo now in a quarterback, still in the first portion of the ball game. Ogigo hits Prescott, and Prescott makes a miraculous catch for about... There's no score in the ball game. A picture of Bobby Prescott from Sioux City, Iowa. With the second and no good, Iowa led Notre Dame 13-0. And here is George Iser, the great passer for Notre Dame, back to pass, intercepted by Drake, and Drake returns it down the near sidelines for 40 yards when he stops for a little bit of interference and is crashed down at the sidelines. And now in the nation, Iowa's Randy Duncan. With 3rd and goal on the Notre Dame 1, Johnny Nacera crashes over right guard for the TD. Duncan's pass to Prescott was incomplete. Iowa led 19-7 at this stage of the ball game. And now in the 4th quarter, Duncan fires a long one down the field, and watch this completion as Williams and Norton battle. It's picked by Norton. Williams pivots the wrong way, and Norton is into the end zone for a 53-yard touchdown play. And in the extra point attempt, it was incomplete. Iowa led 25-14. Izo tries to pass later, intercepted by Charlie Lee, and Lee is almost into the end zone. It's blown dead on about the 1-yard line. And then on the next play, Mitch Ogigo, who is now into quarterback, plunges into the end zone for the Iowa touchdown. The point is no good, and Iowa moved up into that 31-degree bracket. There is Mitch Ogigo. The final score was Iowa 31 and Notre Dame 21. Here is a picture of the staff that made this fabulous Hawkeye team successful. A close-up of Evie and his captain, John Nacera. Boys that made the play tremendous. Lewis. Here is Novak. Lloyd Humphreys at center. Bill Lapham, another center. Here is Hugh Drake from Shenandoah, Iowa. Gary Grawwinkle from Wapello. Of Johnny Brown, who later came in at fullback. John Burroughs, our great tackle. And Billy Gravel, the senior left halfback, and Shepanik, who came through very well. Here is John Solon, a tackle. Yes, it's a big salute to the Big Ten champions. And now the Big Ten champs head for Pasadena in the Rose Bowl game, and they will enjoy again the traditional orange shower at the famed Huntington Hotel as the Queen herself greets the incoming Hawkeyes. Then we'll probably have that trip out to Disneyland. Will no doubt be on the agenda for the young and the old. Lots of fun at Disneyland by the Hawkeyes. You know, practice makes perfect, and the Hawkeyes will be hard at it at East Los Angeles State College Stadium, just a short ride from the hotel. Press day again, and the coaches and players will welcome press, radio, and TV for the opening day of pictures and interviews, and Evie will introduce the players to the spectators. What a year these Hawkeyes had. They were simply great. And this is Bud Suter, hoping you've enjoyed our filmed highlights of the 1958 season, and we'll all be pulling for the Hawkeyes when they meet the Golden Bears of California in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl.